Welcome back. 5 years ago this Saturday, November 17th, 2013, central Illinois devastated by two late-season tornadoes which tore through Pekin, East Peoria, and Washington. I recently revisited one of the hardest-hit neighborhoods, which was literally wiped out by the twister.
A large, extremely dangerous and potentially deadly tornado is on the ground.
The EF4 tornado, with nearly 200-mile-an-hour winds, roared into the city just after 11 that morning. 3 people were killed, 125 injured, and over 1,000 homes damaged or destroyed. Joey and Ashley Davidson, along with their children, daughter Hadley, who was 1 at the time, and son Dean, who was 6 at the time, just got home from church and were settling in to watch football.
We heard some breaking news. Actually, Chuck Collins pops onto the TV and says there's some serious stuff heading towards our building and we got to evacuate. We got to get out of here. I didn't really think anything of it. I kind of continued watching, but my son Dean here, he came to the rescue and told us to go downstairs. So we did.
And it's a good thing they did. The family took cover under a sink and within minutes found themselves under a pile of debris, including cinder blocks. Not realizing he was seriously injured, Joey pulled his family from the debris.
Because we were buried under the blanket in the rubble, and they were screaming, and I probably was screaming too, but I knew there wasn't much air debris, so when he pulled that that debris off of us, and I was able to hand it to her, saw he was alive and the kids were alive, that was probably it. I mean, even the destruction, it was just like, we're all here.
Ashley and the children weren't seriously injured, but received several cuts, bruises, and scrapes. Joey, on the other hand, suffered a broken vertebrae, broken shoulder, broken rib, and debris was actually embedded in his skull. The Davidson story of survival was one of dozens that day.
20, get up here, we got houses down all over.
Mary Stambaugh was home with her granddaughter, Tyler. They took shelter in their safe place underneath the living room stairs.
Tyler was in there. Mary was laying on top of Tyler.
I looked out and saw it coming at us, and I yelled at Tyler and grabbed her by the hand, and I just kept yelling, run, 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 run. And so she and we flew down the stairs and got under the stairs, and then I kind of laid over top of her.
Her husband David was running errands and frantically made it home just before their house literally blew away.
The stairwell. I got home, pulled into the garage, and I yelled at Mary and Tyler to get in under the stairway. They were already there. I grabbed my camera. I'm a bit of a photographer. I thought, well, I'm never going to get this close to one again. I got to the end of the garage and I heard a noise that said, nah, you really don't need these pictures. So I closed the garage door and got under the stairs, and about that time it hit.
This thing has gotten huge, Chief. Big debris field.
Right up the street, the Lancaster family heeded the warning. Husband Chris got his family and pets to safety in the lower level, but he remained at the back of the house videotaping the massive twister, which all of a sudden became too close.
I thought, well, it's time to go. And when I started that way, that's when the refrigerator came through. It hit me in the head, hit me on the left side of my head. And it kind of threw me back into the couch in the fireplace room. I tried to get up again, and then wood started hitting me.
The Washington tornado came into town literally between these two houses. Of course, they were destroyed but rebuilt here on Little Streamwood Court. The tornado then went northeast toward the city. Mayor Gary Menier knows every inch of the tornado track.
Probably the worst thing I had to do in my life was sign a declaration that afternoon to declare a city disaster area.
Like many other Washington residents that morning, Mayor Menier was in church when the twister hit. His first instinct was to help whoever he could. The first stop was Georgetown Apartments, which were totally destroyed, but then he learned the damage was much more extensive.
I left Georgetown then, went into Washington Estates across the way here. That was our first home. My wife's childhood home was there, and we just knew a lot of people there and tried reaching into basements to help people, and street signs are gone. The yellow house or blue house that was on the corner was no longer there. Didn't really know where I was in my own community.
So we're going to need a technical rescue team. We've got heavy damage and a lot of buildings down.
Municipalities, including Washington, have disaster plans in place. They're rarely used, but unfortunately, they have policies for devastating circumstances.
When I first looked at debris after I got into Washington Estates across the way here, I actually was trying to get a hold of 5 Points to say we'll probably need body bags delivered delivered there to put up a maybe temporary morgue. And that was just the first mindset.
Even those of us who study storms for a living were literally speechless when seeing the devastation for the first time, yours truly included. Heather Stanley from the National Weather Service in Lincoln was a member of the survey team which went to Washington that afternoon.
It was almost impossible to comprehend that people had lived through that.
Not only did the team survey damage, but it also surveyed the human element to better understand what residents went through. For example, the way people were searching through debris.
Pieces of paper, baby clothing, pictures. They were literally going through the mud and debris in the fields that were empty because it was November. These empty fields on the north side of town, trying to pick up small pieces for their neighbors to see if they could somehow bring some sort of comfort to the people that have lost everything.
Now, coming up in the final installment of Central Illinois Strong 5 years later, meteorologist Jesse Gwynn has the science behind the storm. Although it was a rare event, it was well forecasted. That's tomorrow night on 25 News at 10.
Wow, so powerful, Chuck. And it's amazing how resilient the people of Central Illinois have been since that happened, rebuilding.
Clearly, it's so important to get a warning so you can make that move and get under those stairs before it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely.